Welcome back to another Decode Tech video and another video in our Windows Basics series. This video I'm going to show you how to install and remove programs from your Windows computer. So although Windows 10 comes with a lot of nice built-in software, there's often times you'll want to work with different file formats, or there's better software than the built-in stuff, and you might want to go get some of your own. Well, there's two main places you can do that. One is the built-in Microsoft Store, and I have the little icon down here on my taskbar, and I have the Windows Store open up here, and you can search for various programs, and that is considered a safe way to download programs because Microsoft monitors apps that go into that store. They actually have a version of Windows where that is the only way you can install programs, and that's Windows 10s. I personally don't really like it. It's kind of limited, but that is an option if that's something you're into. All right, probably the most common way to download is from the internet. So we have to go to a web browser to do that. So I'm going to go into Microsoft Edge, which is the included web browser with Windows 10, and I'm going to search for a program I want to download. Say I want a new web browser. I want to use Google's browser called Google Chrome. So I could search Google Chrome download, and that'll come up. Now the first thing is to always, whenever possible, download from trusted sites, from the main site. So for example, if you're going to download Chrome, go to Google's site to download Chrome. Now in this case, Google is the first result, but oftentimes there'll be a lot of other ones. For example, if I scroll down here, you'll see here's one from CNET where they have their own Google Chrome download. And there's many other sites like that that have downloads for other people's software. Avoid those whenever possible. They often include their own stuff with the installation, and it's always just safer and more secure to go straight to the actual makers of that software. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Google link, and here it says get more done with the new Chrome, and they have a download Chrome button. Now this will probably auto-detect my operating system type, whether it's Windows and whether it's 32 or 64-bit. But one thing you want to be aware of is what architecture your operating system is, whether it's 32 or 64-bit. If it's 64-bit, which almost all are nowadays, you would want to install the 64-bit version if it's available. There isn't always 64-bit versions available. So first of all, you have to check if your system is 64-bit compatible. So you can just go down to the search and type in about. And about your PC should pop up. If it doesn't, just keep typing out about your PC till it does. Now down here, if you see under the system type, we see 64-bit operating system and x64 base processor. So therefore we have a 64-bit operating system. If it was 32-bit, it would say 32-bit, and it would probably say x86 if it was 32-bit. All right, enough of that. Let's go back to the download. The next thing you want to do is make sure the program is free for your uses. Even though a program says free when it's download, does not mean it's free in all use cases. Oftentimes, for commercial use, it is not free, which commercial use just means business use. So if you're in a business setting, you might not be able to download that software for free. And that is important to note. Taking software that's not yours is every bit as bad as stealing anything else that isn't yours. So always make sure you check the licensing. Normally you can Google for it, or they have a link on their site that you can find it. All right, so let's get on with the download. So I'm going to hit download Chrome, and every time you're downloading software, they'll have all kinds of checkboxes hidden of stuff they would like you to install or services they'd like you to opt in for. For example, here in the bottom it says, help make Google Chrome better by automatically sending usage statistics to Google. That is not necessary at all for it to run. So I would just go ahead and uncheck that box before hitting accept and install. Also, this did not ask us whether we wanted the 32-bit or the 64-bit version. I'm sure you could Google that if you wanted to make sure you got the right one, but it probably auto-detected which operating system we have. So I'm just going to hit accept and install, and it says, what do you want to do with Chrome setup? You can either run it or save it. I'm just going to hit save. Now you have two options. You can either hit the run here, or you can go under your File Explorer and go under your downloads, and you should see your Chrome setup.exe. Now if you watched my last video, you know that exe programs are applications. Well, this isn't the actual Chrome application. It's the Chrome installer to install the application. So by double clicking this, it'll run the installer. And now it says, do you want Google to be able to make changes? I'm going to hit yes, and then we're going to get this loading bar. And now it installed and launched Google Chrome for me. Now this installer didn't have many checkboxes like that opting in to send analytic data to Google, but often they'll have little checkboxes saying like install such and such McAfee security software. And if you leave it checked, it'll install that and you never knew you installed it. And that is how you can very easily get programs and viruses on your computer that you didn't realize you had. All right, so we have Google Chrome installed now. I'm just going to minimize that. And so here the installer is still in our downloads folder. Now normally you don't need the installer once you've installed it, so you could throw it in the trash. Every once in a while they'll have a way to uninstall the program from the installer, but I'm going to show you the other way to uninstall programs, which is most likely how you'll uninstall most of your programs anyway. But I don't like installers clogging up my downloads folder, so if you're not going to delete them, I'd recommend going under your users folder. So I'm going to go under C, users, decode tech, and I'm just going to make a new folder. So I'm going to go under new and folder, and I'm going to name it installers. Hit enter, and now I'm going to move all my installers into that folder. So what I'm going to do to make it easier to move these to the installers folder is I'm just going to right click on the folder and I'm going to pin it to quick access. So I'm going to click pin to quick access. Now it's up here in my quick access tab. Now when I go back to my downloads, I can select, and if I want to select multiple ones, I can either hold down Control or Command if I'm on a Mac, Control on Windows, and that'll allow me to select multiple, and then I can click and drag them into my installers folder. Alright, now I'm going to show you where your programs normally install to. Unfortunately, the Chrome download did not show the download location of where the program will install, but most times it's under your C drive and either under Program Files or Program Files x86. That x86 is the 32-bit applications, and the regular Program Files is the 64-bit. So if it's 64-bit, we should see it under here, and it would be under like Google or Chrome, and I don't see it, so it must be a 32-bit application. So let's go under the x86. Sure enough, here's a Google folder. I'm going to double click on it, and you see Chrome is in there, and application, and here is chrome.exe. That is the actual executable application, Chrome. So if I double click on that, it'll launch my Chrome web browser. All right, another thing to note is normally when you install software, they will install a shortcut on the desktop. Now, what is a shortcut? Notice all these icons here on my desktop. They look like the programs, but they're not actually the programs. They're shortcuts to the program. So if you see that little arrow in the left-hand corner, in the bottom left-hand corner of the icon, that means it's a shortcut. And what I mean by a shortcut is it points to the application, but it is not the application itself. So if you delete the shortcut, it does not delete any of the program. So I'll double click it, and you see it does launch the program. That's because it's going back to the application exe file that I showed you and launching it. And to prove that, I'm just going to right click on the shortcut and I'm going to hit properties, and you'll see it has a start in location, and it says C /program files /Google /Chrome /application. And if you see the target, it's the exact same thing except for it has chrome.exe at the end. That is the actual application that it is pointing to. So if I were to copy this path without the quotation marks, so I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to go back into my File Explorer. I'm going to go up to my address bar, paste it in, and get rid of the chrome.exe so it doesn't start it up right away. Hit enter, and you'll see that takes you right to where the chrome.exe application is. So that is all a shortcut is it's a pointer to the actual application. So if you delete the shortcut, it will be fine. I can right click, I can delete. So I can search Chrome down here and hit enter, and it'll still launch the Chrome browser because I did not uninstall it, I just deleted the shortcut. All right, now I want to look at how to change your default program once you've installed software that you like. So by default, Windows 10 likes to use Microsoft Edge because it's their browser. Well, if I want to use Chrome, because I like Chrome a lot better for all my web-based stuff, I can go down to search and I can type in default, and default apps should come up. Just hit enter, and you'll see a list of different types of programs that it uses by default. For example, for viewing photos, it uses the Photos app. For web browsing, it uses the Edge app. So if I click on the web browser, I can now select Chrome, and now I can switch anyway. It's still trying to convince me to switch or try Edge, but I switched and now Google Chrome is there. Now anytime something launches to the web, it'll use Chrome, and you can do that for all these types of programs. All right, now let's look at how to actually uninstall a program. So you might be tempted to think that you can go back to your File Explorer, go under the C drive, and go under either Program Files folder and just delete the Google folder. That would semi-work, but it would probably leave behind a lot of files that are unnecessary on your computer. So the proper way to do it is to go down to search and type in add or remove programs. If you just type in add, it'll probably be one of the first results. Hit enter. And now it'll give you a list of all the apps installed on your computer. And if you have a lot, you can just search it in the search bar. So I'm going to search for Chrome because I just installed it. And sure enough, there's Chrome. I could click on it and click on install, but I don't want to do that. I do have a program I do want to uninstall called Music Manager. So I'm just going to type in music, and here it is. And I'm going to click uninstall and uninstall. And it's going to ask me, do I for sure want to allow this unknown publisher to make changes? I'm going to hit yes. And it's going to go through and it should uninstall that for me. Alright, and once it's done, I'm just going to hit close. Now that is uninstalled from my computer. Alright, and for one bonus feature, I talked about making sure you uncheck all those little sly things they have, like additional software to install or certain features they want you to click on to install that you don't necessarily want. Well, there's a nice program made that by default unchecks all those boxes, or at least most of them. Now you don't want to totally rely on this because it might not always get them for whatever reason. So still keep an eye out on these and be careful whenever you install software, but it can be a nice little safety backup for other people that try to install programs on your computer, or maybe a time you just hastily clicked through something when installing something and missed one of those boxes. So this program is called Unchecky. So I'm going to go to Google Chrome. I'm going to type in Unchecky. Now, I believe Unchecky is free to use in almost all cases. I did read through some of the licensing and I didn't see anything about commercial use even. So it may even be able to be used for commercial use, but check into it yourself. Don't take my word as authority. So the top link is unchecky.com. So that's their site. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And if you scroll down, you can actually find their licensing in the bottom corner there if you want to read that. But you can just hit download. And once you do, the download should start. You can either find in your web browser where the download is, or you can go into Finder under Downloads, and you should see the setup again. Remember, this is the setup, not the actual program. Now here's the installer. Ask for the language. I'm just going to hit install. I'm going to hit yes. And now it says the Unchecky service is up and running. I'm going to hit finish. Now once again, you can probably either delete the installer or you can move it to an installers folder. Now I believe that program will run in the background pretty much all the time unless you tell it not to. And so now whenever you install other software, it will uncheck those boxes for you so you don't end up with all kinds of junk on your computer. Alright, so that's going to do it for today's tutorial on installing and uninstalling software. Remember, always download from official sites whenever possible. Always check the licensing before using, especially in business situations. Whenever possible, download 64-bit if your computer can use 64-bit. If you have a 32-bit computer, don't install 64 because it will not run. Make sure you uncheck all boxes during the install process, and maybe check out the Unchecky program to help you with that. Check where your application installs to. It'll probably be either under C Program Files or C Program Files x86, but that might not always be the case, so double check. Note that an installer.exe is not the same as the actual program itself. And note that a shortcut is not the actual program, and you can tell what a shortcut is by seeing the little arrow icon in the bottom corner. Also, you can change your default programs so that if you want your web browser to launch to Google Chrome or whatever web browser you chose. And to remove a program, just go to Add or Remove Programs and uninstall the one you don't want. If you found this useful, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this type of content, please subscribe. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. And I hope to see you all in the next Windows Basics tutorial series.